everybody. Welcome to the 53rd Water Talk organized by National Water Mission Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India. As the name suggests itself that Water Talk is an initiative which promotes dialogue and discourse around the water sector. So, National Water Mission initiated this dialogue series with an objective of creating information and sharing it among people. Firstly, before going ahead, I would like to introduce our esteemed speakers for this water talk. We have been joined by Ms. Archana Verma, Mission Director, National Water Mission, Ministry of Jal Shakti, Government of India. Ma'am has been the guiding force in enlightening and motivating different stakeholders as far as water segment is concerned. Also, we have Dr. Marcella D'Souza. She is the director of Watershed Organization Trust, Center for Resilience Studies, India, and our keynote speaker. Followed by ma'am, we would be joined by Ishwa Kale sir, who is the thematic lead, Water Resources Development and Governance at WOTR Centre for Resilience Studies, who has joined us and has an intensive body of work when it comes to community-based water management of different water resources. Water conservation, as Ma'am Archana Ma'am says, that it could be only possible with convergence and community engagement. So this session, we are looking forward to an interesting concept which is focused on community-based water resource management. And obviously, adhering to the Catch the Rain 2024 theme, Nari Shakti se Jal Shakti, we have with us Jal Sevika Chaya ji, who would also interact with us. Before any further ado, let's get started. And I would like to ask and request Archana ma'am for her opening remarks. Please, over to you.
Thank you, Arpita. Today, more than 2 billion people face water scarcity. And without any intervention, it is likely to become 3.2 billion. And who are the most adversely impacted in the event of water scarcity is obviously women and girls who drop out of schools, who are unable to get livelihood opportunities, and find time for leisure too. Because getting water from tankers, getting water from faraway places becomes a drudgery for women and girls. So that is why in the Jal Shakti Abhiyan, इस साल के जल शक्ति अभियान का हमारा जो थीम है वो नारी शक्ति से जल शक्ति है. और नारी शक्ति से जल शक्ति इसीलिए है because we feel that it is only with the participation of women that sustainable solutions can be found. And in the government of India, all our policies, all our thinking is now veering towards community based management of water. Because without community having a sustainable solution for water management is very, very difficult. आप जो भी कह लो, सबसे ज़्यादा जो नॉलेज होता है उस एरिया का वो कम्युनिटी के पास ही होता है. और अगर उनको कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट में डिसीजन मेकिंग में उनका पार्टिसिपेशन इफ वी keep from the start, then they feel a sense of ownership. They also feel a sense of belonging to the project, and that's how projects are also better managed. And even if there are conflicts within the community, it can be resolved if community is managing water. So be it our Jal Shakti Abhiyan, where we promote community based water management, or the Atal Bhujal Yojana, which is again based on participatory water management by the communities. Even Jal Jeevan Mission has a lot of role for ownership of water by women. And even in our Amrut scheme, we have a big focus on gender sensitization and community management of water. So I will not speak much on this because we have two, legendary figures in Marcella D'Souza ma'am and Dr. Ishwar Kale, who will be speaking on this as they have handled this in the field and they are nearest to the community to give us insights on why there can be no water management without community partnership. And I also welcome our water warrior Chaya ji, जो कि आपके पीछे में मुझे बहुत सारे पाइप्स की फोटो दिख रही है, तो उससे ही लग रहा है कि आपका जो पानी के प्रति रुझान है वो बहुत ज्यादा है. और इसके साथ ही आई वुड हैंड ओवर टू अर्पिता टू वेलकम मार्सेला मैम एंड ईश्वर काले एंड छाया जी फॉर देयर insights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. As ma'am said, and as is the theme for this water talk, which is community-based water resource management. So, without waiting much, I would like to hand over it to Marcella, ma'am, for just introducing us with the initiative, which is particularly based on community management. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah. So, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to thank Madam Archana and the National Water Mission for inviting us to share our experiences. Can we have the slide, please? And while the presentation is coming up, I'll just give you a little bit of a background about us. I come from this organization, Watershed Organization Trust. We started off in uh, 1993 when we began with the Indo-German Watershed Development Program. Can you please put the presentation up, Arpita?
Yes, ma'am. We are just aligning it.
Yes, you can begin and I'll just keep talking till then. So we started off, and the concern was that in the semi-arid rain shadow area of Ahmednagar, were facing years and years of water scarcity, and every year there was more of land degradation with water scarcity. So this the work that we started in water, in WOTR, and with the Indo-German Watershed Development Program, began in the drought-prone region of Maharashtra, Ahmednagar. It is just after the Western Ghats, and it is called the water scarcity zone. The village receives barely 200 and 400 and 450 millimeters of rain a year. Is there a problem with the slides, Arpita?
Yes, ma'am, we are just getting them lined up.
Okay, fine.
You can continue,
All
obviously,
right,
and we
I'll
will just
continue till
shortly.
then. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So in this area, the farmers all the owners of land, the farmers were migrating in the month of October, and they would return only when the monsoons would come the following year, hoping that they could only get the kharif crop. After that, there was barely anybody in the villages. All the people would migrate to sugarcane cutting, and the whole families would migrate. And that was a big stress that we encountered when we first began the work. This work began with the Indo-German Watershed Development Program, where German funding and a bilateral program with German funding going to NABARD for the main implementation, but there was no capacity building for that kind of a work. And that was the reason why WOTR, Watershed Organization Trust, was started. So the role that we had over there was to initiate the capacity building of engaging rural communities, totally participatory, engaging rural communities into the program. So what I'm going to share with you is how community-based water resources management works for sustainability and viable incomes. Okay. The next slide, please. So when we started, so this is who water is. We began as to generate, to harvest rainwater. Catch the rain where it falls was our slogan in the earlier years. So I'm very happy, madam, that this is the same slogans that still goes. Catch the rain where it falls. And beyond that, it was we are a not for profit organization, and we work at being a think tank. How do we bring science with practice and getting these experiences from the ground, taking these to programs and policies at a major level? Our whole approach is learning by doing, um, supported by science. And later on, we started the research unit, which I head now. And it's the Water Centre for Resilience Studies. It needs to guide. We realize we need to guide science, has to guide all practice so that we can have low or no regrets in the interventions that go forward. We worked across 10 states very actively in 8, over 6,850 villages, and have helped, and we have treated over 2.5 million hectares across the landscape. The next slide. So what did we do from 1993 when we were established till 2014? We were a major player, and we with NABARD developed the whole capacity building approach to engaging rural communities in the watershed development program. Later on, as the years went on, we realized around 2001, 2, 3, we realized that we were having consecutive years of low rainfall and drought when we had to look at the climate. Then we were able to get a fund from the Swiss Development Agency and NABARD, a tripartite agreement, where we started a climate change adaptation project and linked a lot with science. Through this project, we initiated the process on water stewardship. We realized we can't just do water management, water budgeting. It had to be stewardship and owning of the water resources by the community. But as we went along, we realized if we want sustainability, we have to be very strong in managing the whole natural ecosystem. We need the forests to help us with the basal flows and the water and the flowing streams. We need people to manage, and we need the rivers and streams to be strong and effective. And we need to prevent landslides and erosion. So we realized an natural ecosystem-based approach was important. So this has been the progression over the years, which we still continue. The next slide, please. I'll tell you a story about this village, Darewadi. It is in the heart of the rain shadow. You could see the first slide of 1996. This was the landscape. I would sit down with the villagers, with the women at that time, in the heat and have our meetings where they were. Here we have the picture of Darewadi in 2020. This is the forest land that we treated in partnership with the forest department. And then we did the various trenches, plantation of trees, and the various structures, both land treatments and drainage line treatments. The reason was we needed to prevent soil erosion. If people have to manage better agriculture, we have to prevent erosion. So it was a land and water management of it. This is what we would call every drop of water, rain that fell on the land, entire landscape would be harvested. The next slide. Here is where I'll show you the impact of what we experienced and data we collected. You can see the first slide, where you have the graph there. The well water level was lower than the rainfall that was there. In the year 1998, the rainfall was very heavy, yet the groundwater level was low because we had not treated the entire landscape. The project started in late 95, and completed by 2001. But by 98, when half the land was treated, we still could not capture all the rainwater that was there. So the blue line tells us of the well water data. But when we came to the year 2009, after the project was completed, we could see that even if the rainfall was less, it captured all the rain within the landscape. The well water levels had risen. And here is where we saw in the same village, in 95, there were 23 wells. By 2009, there were 127 wells. Well water started increasing. By 2001, when we completed the project, it became a tanker-free village, you know, and agriculture production increased. We tracked the amount of income from the people. In 95, 96, when we started, the whole village was earning about 1.06 crores in income from agriculture, mainly kharif. But by 2009, it was 5.6 crores, as a whole. And it is increasing as the years go on. Okay. How did we do it? It was the village watershed committee that was formed, where all, women and men, the Gram Sabhas were very, very active. You have a picture here of the Gram Sabha. And in the Gram Sabha, we had women and men participating. At that time, I was the coordinator for women's promotion with the responsibility for engaging women into the program. What we saw is in the initial years, we would have just one or two women in the village watershed committee. I'm talking about 93, 94, 95. Okay. The Gram Panchayats were not yet active. So we had village watershed committees and we would have one or two women. But by 2001 or 2, when women became more active and engaged, I had a lot of effort to put in to bring women into the fore and to allow the men to accept the women. By 2003-4, in WOTR, we changed the format. We had a uh, very representative participation in the village development committee. It had households, representatives of all categories of households proportionately represented, and about 40 to 50% of the village development committee members were women. And this committee worked under the active involvement of the Gram Panchayat. So we had the Gram Panchayat very effective. And this were the scenes that you could see in a rain shadow where it had received about 450 to 500 millimeters of rainfall. The next slide, please. But what happened between this time? Can you please go to the previous slide? As agriculture started increasing, you could see agriculture increasing, groundwater started being exploited. By that time, in 2001, our project was over and we couldn't do anything. We were not doing much except keeping in touch with the villages. And what we found was groundwater exploitation took place and we were worried. We said water was now not enough, although the village wells had enough of water, although the number of wells and bore wells increased, but water was not enough. It was because people were exploiting and using more and more of groundwater. That was the time we started thinking, about 2007-8, the thoughts started. The next slide. We then realized we had to do something more and very proactively in the village. The problem was that groundwater was being exploited and agriculture was increasing. We were very happy. Agriculture production was increasing. Some villages could take, even 3 crops. Mind you, I'm talking about Darewadi as an experience. Around 2001, we had over 300 villages with partner NGOs in the program that were working across Maharashtra. NABARD had increased it and the whole process was going on. I won't talk about those numbers. Till today, as I said, we have reached over 5,000, 6,000 villages across the country. But I'll just tell you this process of water management. So what we realized was that with water management, each household was taking the water And the people thought the water in my land belongs to me. But what we realized was if we have to work towards sustainability, we had to change their approach. We had to make water, if the whole village came together to treat the watershed, then the groundwater that was harvested, that was captured, the rain that was caught into the land belonged to the whole people. So that was the response we started, making water stewardship a community affair and making the community be responsible for the water stewardship. So the processes had to be engaging them actively, putting out the water, the quantification of water with the whole objective and outcome, a very clear outcome. We needed water to be we needed the whole environment to be very sustainable. So we needed environmental sustainability because, mind you, they had trees, they had a lot of soil stored. So it was an ecosystem restoration. We needed it to be economically viable. So if people were saving water, they had to get the economic returns from agriculture and allied activities. And we needed as many households, all households, even the marginalized poor and landless poor to benefit. It had to be socially equitable. I will now hand over to Ishwar, who will share with you the processes that took place. The next slide, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Marcella, and namaste to all. We are glad to share our experiences on water stewardship, and thank you, National Water Mission, for the opportunity. I'm audible, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, as Marcella saying that this whole water stewardship was basically the shift into the mental model or the approach of the community to understand water as a shared resource, as a community resource rather than the private resource. And I think that is the precondition for this whole community-based water management. When we thought this whole bringing this water stewardship on the ground, because earlier you may be aware this water stewardship was a framework adopted by the corporates and companies and industries actually for their water neutrality. Then we made a conscious effort to customize this whole framework and bring to the communities, to the villages for making the change into the village level. So what is the center point of this water stewardship is basically the water use for the different uses. And we know that agriculture is the major consumptive sector, or the more than 90% water get consumed into the agriculture. So without agriculture, we can't go for the sustainable management of the water resources. So for doing that, we follow the approach of this, how the soil health can be increased so that it hold more water, more soil carbon can be increased into the whole soil. So for that, this whole nature friendly agriculture practices, different set of practices from this vermicomposting, the package of practices of different crops, biofertilizers. So that package get applied at the village level. Their capacities are built into that. So whole this soil testing, soil health management, the capacity building through this farmer field schools become the center point for this whole initiative. Most importantly, as we see that this whole climate change is making a lot of impacts on the crops, the farming system into that. For enabling these farmer communities to understand the climate predictions, take the right decisions to prevent their crops, secure their crops, we have developed this the crop advisory system and the application called the Farm Precise. So this Farm Precise applications farmers download, and it's very local specific. Farm Precise means it's a farm level preciseness, also the crop level type of preciseness. So farmers get very accurate information and the advisories for protecting their crops at the field. And this is available into the 5 languages, and more than 80,000 downloads farmers are using that. So this is very helpful for this whole crop protection, and the more income to the farmers. So the soil and agriculture become the key point for us at the entering point, because once the water can be managed effectively on the agriculture, then a lot of water can be also efficiently used. Next, please. Yeah. So this is the overall the key component of water stewardship, because at the village level, this water stewardship, into that we build the cadre of water stewards on the ground. So key cadres we create is like a Jal Sevaks and Jal Sevikas. So those are the rural village youths we capacitate for this whole water management, water budgeting practices, working with community, motivating them. So these Jal Sevikas and Jal Sevaks are the key mediator for this village level change. And in villages, we form this village water management committee. So this is like a 7 to 8 the key people into the villages. They come together. Actually, they represent of different institutions like Gram Panchayat, then village development committee, and there is a mixed group, male, female, into that, and they take lead with this Jal Sevaks for this whole initiative into the villages. So how it happens actually, basically the water budgeting is the center point of this whole water stewardship initiative, and our many government programs and many agencies are doing this water budgeting. So we are also strengthening this whole water budgeting framework. But we believe that unless this local level data of this rainfall and the groundwater is captured, we can't make a very local specific or the village specific water budgeting. So the Jal Sevaks and the Village Water Management Committee, they regularly or daily do the rainfall monitoring at the village level. So that help to make a very clear and the specific water budgeting for the village. So data monitoring is a key, we believe into that. And then they do the overall survey of this water harvesting structures, groundwater structures, and water budgeting get prepared for the villages. So our approach is basically how we build the capacities of the community for doing the water budgeting. So rather than the applications of the software, our approach is to build the level of communities capabilities for doing the water budgeting. And how it result actually, this water budgeting, you can see this one of the decision taken by the Gram Sabha there. So we motivate them that they make the rule at the village level. For example, like a ban on borehole, or not going for this water guzzling crops, or some sort of the limitation on extracting the groundwater or the surface water from the bodies. So that help that if they make these rules and they ratify it into the Gram Sabha, display at the village level, so that's a lot of buy-in and ownership on these rules by the communities. So we thought this is very important initiative for this village level management. If you can see this one picture of water sharing group by model irrigation, this group micro irrigation is another tool we have promoted into these villages. So that help basically to share the groundwater, because this from the one source many people can share the water. So that help to sharing the groundwater. Yeah. Next, please. Yeah. So I will request Arpita to run this film. It's the film about how on ground the changes have been made by this adopting the water stewardship watershed approach by the communities, and how that has strengthened this overall the community's capabilities. So
Yes, sir. We
Arpita,
are
can
just yeah. So we are just playing it, and till then you can just give a brief as to the story of Bhujdari.
right, yeah. So this is story about the how the capacities of the villagers, how they have taken the self initiative for this different type of activities on the ground, and it talk about basically the from the watershed to water stewardship, how this whole transformation happened into the ground, how the water budgeting they are doing and implementing at the ground level, and how the women are taking lead into this overall water stewardship initiative. So this story is very helpful and highlight very important
The
aspects of
stories
this
of
whole
drought make familiar news every summer in Maharashtra. The state is home to 1/4 of India's drought-prone districts. Bhujdari, located in semi-arid area of the same state, has a different story to tell. Behind the successful management of water in Bhojtari is a project called Water Stewardship, run by Watershed Organisation Trust, also known as WOTR in Pune.
There are four major components of the Water Stewardship Initiative. The first, Jal Sevaks. Second, village water management teams. Third, the water stewardship plan, which include the water budgeting process. And the fourth, the stakeholder engagement process, which bring the diverse stakeholders together for the planning and the actions.
WOTR's initiative of water stewardship in Bhojtari is an example of an ecosystem-based approach to water management.
Ecosystem-based adaptation is a nature-based and human-centric approach to adaptation, restoring the health of the ecosystem, maintaining it through participatory governance, while also contributing to improved livelihoods and better adaptive capacity of the local community is at the heart of EBA. In practice, this is a holistic approach that combines several areas of intervention, such as sustainable agriculture, locale-specific weather and crop advisories, water use management, and biodiversity conservation, both at the farm and landscape levels.
Rainwater is the primary source of water in Bhojtari. The average rainfall is between 400 to 600 mm. Given its limited rainfall and semi-arid climate, an ecosystem-based approach is vital.
जंगलामध्ये तुम्हाला झाडं तुम्हाला हिरवळ दिसेल, पण याचं जर आम्ही 92च्या अगोदर जर पाहायला गेलो असतो तर 92च्या अगोदर आमची पोरं, आमची लहान मुलं या डोंगरांवरती घसरगुंड्या खेळत होते. म्हणजे विना अडथळा वरून तर खालपर्यंत यायला कोणताही अडथळा नव्हता. ना सीसीटी नव्हती, ना ट्रेंचेस नव्हते, ना कोणतंच काही नव्हतं.
Thanks to watershed development works done in the 1990s, the village conserves the maximum amount of rainwater on its landscape.
Today, you will not recognize the Bhojtari I was familiar with. Today, the hills are green. Today, there is sufficient water. Most importantly, all the children have gone to school and are now able to complete their schooling, because they are no longer needed to fetch water, the girls particularly, nor look after the cattle and go to the fields, because their productivity has risen so much that the children were no longer needed by the house, by the family, to look and provide for their needs.
WOTR helped Bhojtari to form diverse committees and also build their capacity for biodiversity conservation, water management, forest management, and women's empowerment. WOTR's initiatives such as soil and water conservation and afforestation in the 1990s, then climate change adaptation initiatives in 2009, and finally the ongoing project on water stewardship have led to the restoration of a healthy ecosystem in Bhojtari.
The adaptation interventions in Bhojtari have had several positive impacts over the years. The forest cover has improved significantly, and about a third of the degraded lands have been transformed into scrub forests. Agriculture productivity has gone up by about 30%, and a similar increase can be seen in terms of household income levels. And most importantly, groundwater levels have improved significantly. There is about 87% increase in the surface water storage capacity, and the severe droughts and acute water shortages in the village are a distant memory.
If ecosystems-based adaptation is practiced across Maharashtra and India, it can help us to achieve our sustainable development goals, meet our land degradation neutrality targets, our Paris Agreement commitments, and at the same time, it helps to build the resilience of our landscapes and its people.
Yes. Next, please, Arpita. So after this Bhojtari story, there is also interesting story of the village called Maswandi, and our Jalasevika Chaya Bodki is also here. So this Maswandi case study is very impressive. If you can see few of these graphs, actually, this is just a comparison of this pre-watershed, that's 1991, and the current situation of 1992. So what are the changes we can see into that? So the agriculture land which was little less earlier, it has been increased to almost more than 2 and 5 times more actually. At the same time, the vegetation cover is also increased by 177%. That's huge. But more importantly, these water bodies, the surface water bodies, which were almost around 3.3 hectares earlier, now reached to almost 10 hectares. So that's the huge capacity, water potential have been created, and water has been getting stored there. But this is only the impact on this water and soil and vegetation, but the whole community process, if you can see these pictures at the village level. So the community's initiative, the self initiative was at very high level. It was very mobilized at the level of the community. The women were the central part of this whole initiative. And there are a lot of awareness on this whole institutions, regulations, and you can see this the resolution made by Gram Panchayat also, which talk about these different bans we have made into the villages. This is very important story, and later our Jal Sevika will also talk on this. Next, please. Yeah. So this is another story, but it's very important because we know this now. This whole scientific, the scale of this water management we have seen into this aquifers or the groundwater as a store actually. Because earlier we are just considering the administrative villages or the watershed into that, but now our policy talk about this aquifer level water management. And we have designed this whole initiative called building the community's understanding on this groundwater literacy and bringing communities together who share the aquifer in more than one village, in a neighboring village. So this is the initiative into the Bhokardan Taluka of the Jalna village into the Marathwada region, where this aquifer is shared by 14 villages, and we have mobilized them into this level of understanding this. We have developed this tool called community driven visual integrator, so that help community understand at the 3D level modeling into that. So what is the below ground, what is the above ground, and where they share the common aquifer into that. But most importantly, into this whole initiative, the women were at the front. And this Lilabai Sonune, which you can see into the picture also. So she took a lot of lead into that, taking this model to different villages, awareing community about this whole groundwater nature into that and mobilizing them. So for this also she got this UNDP Water Champion Award for her work into that, and that was a very pride moment for her and us also. There is very short 2 minutes video of this Lilabai, how she has been active into this whole initiative. So I will request Arpita to just run this 2-minute video of this Lilabai, so we can understand how she is engaged into this whole initiative.
Yes, sir, surely. We'll be playing it.
चौदा गावांचं एक मॉडेल बनवलेलं आहे. त्या मॉडेलचं मला कळलंय की खालची पातळी पाण्याची भूजलधारक खडक पाणी धरून ठेवणारा ह्यो फक्त 14च गावात आहे. ह्यो आजूबाजूला इतर दुसरीकडे कुठंच नाही असं म्हणून सनी मला त्याचं महत्त्व कळलं आणि मी 14 गावांना फिरले. 14 गावांना फिरून मी ना सल्लागार 14 गावामध्ये सल्लागार समिती निवडल्या आणि सल्लागार समिती निवडून त्याच्यामध्ये मी 2 प्रतिनिधी निवडले, एक अध्यक्ष आणि एक उपाध्यक्ष असे निवडले आणि ह्या मिटिंगी मी 14 गावाच्या पार पाडल्या आणि मला खूप आनंद वाटतोय या पाण्याच्यासाठी. कारण का पाणी आज जगामध्ये पाणी म्हणलं की हा सगळ्यात प्रश्न मोठा आहे. पाण्याचा विषय महिलांना जास्त आहे कारण पाणी महिलांनाच तकलीफ होते. आमच्याच गावामध्ये 2 एक तीड याच्याहून पाणी आणतात लोक, तर 2 हंडे महिला पाणी आणतात, तर त्यांच्या पोटात आजार होतो. तर ते पाहून मला कळवळा आली. म्हणून मी काय म्हटलं की जे पाणी आहे आपल्या छतावर पाणी जे पडतं हे स्वच्छ खड्ड्यात आपलं स्वतःच्या घरी स्वच्छ खड्डं करा आणि ते पाणी त्या स्वच्छ खड्ड्यात जिरवा. मग तेच पाणी आपल्या आडाला विहिरीला पुरे होईल. की सेंद्रिय खताकडे जास्त वळा आणि जो अमृत बनवा, तेच खाद्यपदार्थावर मारा आणि त्याच्यापासून महिलांचं आरोग्य दूर होईल. अशासाठी मी या गोष्टी मला पटल्या आणि मी याच्यात सामील झाले. तर मला खूप आवडली. तर महिलांनाही सांगितलं की तुम्ही स्वच्छ खड्डे करा, घराभोवती विहिरीजवळ पुरणभरण करा, विहिरीतलं पाणी विहिरीजवळ वाहून जाणारं पाणी विहिरीत जर जिरलं, ते जर पाणी मुरलं तर आपल्या विहिरीला फायदा होईल. आणि परसबाग फळबाग लावा आणि आपण आपला फळबाग लावून सनी आणि आपल्याच बाजारचा भाजीपाला न खाता आपल्या घराभोवती सांडपाण्याचाच भाजीपाला लावा आणि तोच खा. त्याच्यापासून आपलं आरोग्य दूर होतं. कारण आरोग्याच्या विषयी मी महिलांना भरपूर शिकवते.
Indeed, the leadership of Leelabai helped to bring many more women into this whole initiative at the ground level. So next, please. Yeah, so this is done. The next, please. Yeah, so this is the second last slide of mine, and this very important framework WTR has been developed. So background is that we may be aware that Niti Aayog has already came with the composite water management index. That's like to understand the state level performance on this whole water governance, water management. So we have gone through the one level ahead, and we have developed a system called water governance standard and certification system. So that help to understand the level of governance of each village and where they fall on the governance part. So this is the modular approach we have put. There are 4 modules, basically water governance, then there is a water supply, how much augmentation has been done, then demand side management, and this last the equity and the environment into that. So there is a 100 mark water score given for this whole 4 modules. And then accordingly that village get rank and then the ratified for that actually. So this mainly cover the water availability, quality, then institutional performance into that, supply demand side, the accountability, transparency of the villages, institutions, and equity and environmental part. So once this assessment is done, this the score the villages get certified by this different level. For example, this bronze, then silver, gold, and platinum, according to the score of that. So how it help actually to the communities? So this certification help communities to understand basically what are their strengths, weaknesses, because this give the diagnosis where they fall actually, on which indicator they perform well, where they fall like a little gray areas into that. So that gives the diagnosis for their some type of the actions. Also, it appreciates the villages for who are doing good. It's like appreciation for them for like a gold and platinum type of thing. For the government and the NGOs and the corporates, it provides the decision support system to understand which villages are doing well, where they can do the investment, how they can take action according to their score. So that is also helpful for them. And also it's very benchmark. For example, pre-project we can just have baseline. After that we can have an end line, and we can understand where these villages fall, improve, and track their progress. That book is available on our website, and we'll be happy to glad the feedbacks on this. Next, please. Yeah. So these are the few important associations and the MOUs we have with the government of India and government of Maharashtra. Most importantly, we are the part of this whole National Committee on Climate Resilient Agriculture by the Ministry of Agriculture at the central level. Also, we are part of this. There is a green credit program, you might be aware actually, by this government of India and the ICFRE. And we are the technical committee member of this whole green credit program. And there is a water sector program within that also the guidelines. So we are helping them out for that also. Also, government of India has taken this National Disaster Management Fund for this national disaster mitigation type of activities, and we are supporting them in framing this guideline. And also part of this technical committee member for the Maharashtra and the Madhya Pradesh for doing these guidelines and the preparation of the plans. Also, water has been many times invited for this pre-budget consultations from our side actually, and the Crispina Lobo and Marcella lead this whole consultation process into that. So with this, I hand over to Marcella to just for the making the concluding points or our the ask or the expectation from the ministry. Marcella, please. Next, please.
Following our whole experience and what we have shared, and now and after this, I would like you all to hear what Chaya from Maswandi will have to say. What we feel is the importance of investing in capacity building. There's a huge difference between providing trainings to the villagers as compared to capacity building. Capacity building means giving them the time, hand holding, guiding them through the challenges they face, and most of all, a capacity building for ownership. Our experience has been that when the communities own the project, after that, the spiral of the development spiral just goes on, and they can take it forward because they understand and they can bring the whole group ahead. So our request would be is, can we invest more for capacity building and giving it the time it requires for communities to take ownership? And the second important thought we had was, can we look at this water governance being a tool for guiding, for testing, for incentivizing, for motivating communities and all partners to take water governance at the community level as a way of sustainability to meet our needs for tomorrow. Thank you very much. And thank you for giving us the chance.
Yeah. So, Arpita, are there any focused questions or the points for the Chayadai, or she can share her
We do
experience?
we do have got some questions also. So if ma'am allows, we can go with them. But can we have Chaya ji's interaction first? Because as Marcella ma'am said, water in my land is not mine. It is of the community. And Chaya ji is working on that lines.
Yes.
So if ma'am allows, Archana ma'am allows, we can just have an interaction with Chaya ji.
Yes.
नमस्ते, मेरा नाम छाया राजाराम भोड़के है। मैं राणा मसवंडी में तालुका संगर में जिला अहमदनगर से हूँ। हमारे गांव में पहले पीने के पानी की बहुत समस्या थी। उसके बाद हमें एक 94 में वॉटर सेड ऑर्गनाइज ट्रस्टच्या माध्यमातून फादर भाकर जैसे व्यक्ति हमारे गांव में उन्होंने भेंट दी। उसके बाद हमारे गांव का पानी का जो स्रोत है उनको बहुत अच्छा एक डेवलपमेंट किया है। वो उसके माध्यम से गांव के महिला ग्रामस्थ उन्होंने बहुत अच्छा सहभाग उसमें दिया था। श्रमदान हम लोग क्या करते हैं, अन्नदान नाम के लिए कुछ भी करते हैं। अन्नदान कहते हैं, रक्तदान कहते हैं, ये नाम के लिए होता है। श्रमदान मुफ्त होता है, वो कोई करता नहीं है। इसलिए गांव ने ऐसी बहुत प्रोजेक्ट अच्छी तरह से वाटर सेट किया है। इस गांव में पानी व्यवस्थापन के माध्यम से हमने सिटी गैबियन नालाबंदी लूज बोर्डिंग सीमेंट बंधारे ऐसे बहुत काम हमें हमारे गांव में किया था। और उसके पहले 94 से पहले हमारे बहुत दूर से हमारे महिलाओं को पानी लाना पड़ता था। गांव में 13 सुबह जल्दी उठ के 4 बजे उठते थे। पानी किस कुएं में मिलेंगे, ऐसी परिस्थिति थी उस टाइम की। अब भी ऐसा नहीं है कि अब जब ने वाटर ने काम किया था हमारे साथ, और 2000 तक वाटर थे। उसके बाद भी हमने हमारा काम अच्छा तरह से किया है। अभी भी हमें बारिश कम भी पड़ी तो हमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं आता। हमारे गांव में अभी टैंकर विंकर कुछ भी नहीं था, आया भी नहीं है अभी। जब हमारी बारिश कम पड़ती है तो हम पानी का नियोजन करते हैं अच्छे तरह से। ग्राम सभा लगाते हैं। ग्राम सभा में पानी सब महिलाओं के घर में अभी पानी आते हैं नल पे। इसलिए हमको किसी महिला को म्हणजे जब बारिश कमी है, पानी कम है, तो इसका नियोजन कैसा करना चाहिए। तो हम एक दिन बाद में पानी छोड़ते हैं और ऐसा नियोजन करते हैं। और जो सांड पानी होता है उसमें हमने परसबाग का किया है। परहेजबाग फुलाते हैं और खुद का भाया जो हमारे जो 8 दिन का वेजिटेबल है तो घर में लगाते हैं तो पकाने के लिए, तो वो हम घर में हमारे खेत में ही पकाते हैं। इसलिए हमें किसी बाहर जाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती है। जो कुछ पैसा लगता है जो हमारा बजट होता है महिलाओं का, वो हम उसमें से बचत भी करते हैं। इसके माध्यम से हमें जल व्यवस्थापन ग्राम पंचायती के माध्यम से जल व्यवस्थापन मंडल स्थापन किया था। उसमें हमारे महिला 7 महिला थे और बाकी के जेंट्स थे। ऐसे हमें ग्रामस्थ ने मिलकर पानी व्यवस्थापन मंडल किया था। उसके माध्यम से हम खेती से माध्यम से ठिबक सिंचन, तुषार, ऐसा मल्चिंग, इससे माध्यम से पानी की बचत कैसे होंगी। और कुएं का हम हमारे यहाँ एक अच्छी सिस्टम है फार्मर की। वो क्या करते हैं, 4-5 फार्मर एकजुट होकर हम कुएं खोदते हैं। इससे हमारे ठिबक सिंचन का नियोजन भी अच्छा तरह से करते हैं हम। उसके माध्यम से हम सेंद्रीय खेती इसका इस्तेमाल पे अभी किया है और हम अच्छे तरह से उनको सेंद्रीय खेती कैसा करना, इसका नियोजन हम गाव पातळी में शेतकरी फार्मरच्या शेतावर जाऊन हमें उधर उनको अच्छे तरह से कैसा जो अमृत पानी बनाना है वो उसका ट्रेनिंग देते हैं।
So Nari Shakti se Jal Shakti has been ensured by Chaya ji completely. Ma'am, what do you like to say?
थैंक यू मार्सेला मैम, डॉक्टर ईश्वर काले एंड छाया जी, बहुत ही प्रेरणादायी आपका मैं ऑडिबल?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I found the वर्क जो आप लोगों ने किया है बहुत ही प्रशंसनीय है, and it's really remarkable the way you have mobilized the community, and most of all you have waited with patience for communities to develop, because under government programs sometimes we become impatient for outcomes. So one insight that I got from your presentation was that it is a time consuming process which needs a lot of nurturing, and it only happens with time, and for women it takes a little longer. And your water governance standards, if you could share with us and send me 2-3 books, I would like to peruse, because that seems a very interesting system for ranking. And we have some community-driven schemes like Atal Bhujal Yojana, Namami Gange also has activities for promotion of community involvement. So let's see what we can do with that. और छाया जी, आपका जो ये था कि आपने जिस तरह से प्रेरणा दी है बाकी औरतों को भी कि मतलब हम पानी औरतों के हाथ में रहने से भी, बिकॉज बहुत लोग ये सोचते हैं कि पानी औरतों के हाथ में रहने से फिर वो ठीक से यूटिलाइज नहीं होगा, लेकिन आपने जो काम करके दिखाया है, और कभी भी मतलब मैं सुनकर हैरान हूँ कि अगर पानी कम भी, वर्षा कम भी होती है तभी भी आपके गांव में पानी की कमी नहीं होती है, क्योंकि आप उस तरह से आप लोग जो है शुरू से ही अब पानी के प्रति बहुत जागरूक हो गए हैं। और मतलब ये बहुत बड़ा प्रमाण है कि जो हम इस बार के जल शक्ति अभियान में ऐसी महिलाओं को ही खोजने का कोशिश कर रहे हैं जो दूसरे लोगों को प्रेरित कर सके कि नहीं, महिला अगर पानी में आएंगी तो पानी का सस्टेनेबल रूप से एनवायरमेंटल फ्रेंडली और सब सोशली इक्विटेबल जो मार्सेला मैम ने कहा कि बिल्कुल मतलब हर जो हमारे तबके के लोग हैं सबको समान पानी मिलेगा। तो ये और पंचायत की भागीदारी भी आपके गांव में बहुत अच्छी है। बिकॉज मैं कुछ मध्य प्रदेश के कुछ बुंदेलखंड जिले में गई थी तो वहाँ प्रोजेक्ट तो बहुत अच्छा चल रहा था, बट महिलाएं जो हैं वहाँ पे बिल्कुल इन्वॉल्व नहीं थी, जबकि कुछ कुछ MSW का डिग्री भी रखी थी, पर वो बाहर जाती थी तो बिल्कुल घूंघट में। और तो मैंने कहा कि आप लोग इतना पढ़ी लिखी होकर भी आप क्यों नहीं इसमें भागीदारी दे रही हैं, क्योंकि अगर आप इसको देखेंगी नहीं तो नेक्स्ट सीजन तक वो फिर सिल्ट से भर जाएगा। बट ये भी एक अच्छा मुझे लग रहा है कि मे बी महाराष्ट्र में जो अच्छे काम हुए हैं, जालना, स्वांदी, फिर ये सब एरियाज की जो औरतों हैं, वो अगर हम बाकी लोगों तक ट्रेनिंग के लिए भी अगर हम ये कर सकें तो उन सब चीजों का हम ध्यान रखेंगे। और थैंक यू वेरी मच, बहुत अच्छा लर्निंग था फ्रॉम ऑल ऑफ यू। दिस इज ऑल आई वांट टू से।
Ma'am, there are certain questions with some people who have joined us, and it is directed to Marcella ma'am first. Wherein Janvi, who has joined us, she wants to know that in such a different socio-economic backdrop of India, what are the challenges that is faced as far as water stewardship initiative is concerned?
Okay. What I understand the question is, in the challenging situations in India, what are the issues regarding water stewardship?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So let me put it like this. We everybody in India, and we have so many norms that say the water that is in my farm belongs to me. It begins with this issue of water. And if a farmer is lucky to be able to take a well or a bore well, then these are the farmers who are very lucky. And I've heard some of the villagers telling us, that farmer was lucky, he got a well or a bore well. I do not have that luck. So it begins with looking at water being an individual source. So the challenge what we had is, how do we get the community? And why we say community, we look at all the households that live in a particular watershed. We look at watershed, the natural boundaries, as being the guiding force. And when we get all the villagers, we take care that all households, at least 70% of households participate actively. When you have 70% of households participating, then it becomes a common effort. They look at the land and everybody participates in the land work. We also get work of the forest department to do the watershed work on their land so that it is a part of the whole process. And with that, people begin to realize that if the rain falls on the land of everybody where all of us work, then the water resources belong to everybody. But what we do is we understand that everyone looks at it individually. So that's where we looked at making the invisible, the groundwater and the aquifers making that visible to the people. So we do the aquifer mapping. We take these aquifers and we look at the aquifer together with the topography. This is where you saw Leela Bai taking the topography of and we found that 14 villages were sharing it. So we had a model prepared on cardboard. It's a whole model that we can train people to do it. They prepared the water on cardboard, and then we looked at them to see how is the underground. And then we say, The underground now belongs to everybody. So that was one of the biggest challenges. But it means also, if we have to get the people together, they have to first begin with agriculture. So we take care that we reach agriculture in arid, semi-arid, in the landscape for what is appropriate. So we begin with what? Agriculture, so that everybody can do it. But there is one more aspect that we included. Again, some households have a water resource and some households don't have. So we started another method. We have talked a lot about micro irrigation. What we have done, and we have started this practice to improve it, we have what is called a group micro irrigation. We look at resources. We have one group where there are 14 households that share an aquifer. We bring them all together that share a water resource. We bring them together where the water, the wells and all can be, the water from the wells, 2 or 3 wells that they have can be brought together. And all those households that share the land within that area are then linked with micro irrigation. So we have the concept of group micro irrigation. We have done a few, 3 or 4 in Maharashtra. We are taking this forward. We have tried a few in Telangana, where we've got about 8 or 9 group micro irrigation, 4 to 5 to 6 to 8 or more households come together. They share the water resource. We put in strong agriculture practices with the whole micro irrigation. And they have their own governance structure. So this group micro irrigation is another method what we are trying for water sharing. But what we do for all this is we take the science behind it. We understand the aquifers and we show it to the people, as you have seen. With the group micro irrigation, we do the studies of what are the economic benefits before they did the group micro irrigation and after they did it. And then when we show this to the people with the agriculture practices, there is a better acceptance. So this is how we share it. If we have challenging situations, of some exploiting more, or when we have a challenging situation of groundwater now put on the surface and being lost in evaporation, we have done studies of these to show, or a study of a whole year. And we have done scientifically based studies. So we can, answer the questions to any scientist as also to the community. So then we show them how much of water is lost in evaporation because of this. And what would that water do had they stopped the evaporation and converted it into water stored underground and shared and used better for more agriculture purposes. So these are the challenges we look at, and we try to find scientific findings and put it to the people. We have workshops with villagers. Mind you, we have workshops with villagers, not only trainings. And we get very good results with the villagers, and we are very comfortable with them. We have strong dialogues. I'll just share with you 2 statements that I hold, that I can still see the faces of these farmers when we had the workshop. One woman said, "So frequently we get droughts. Why is it we don't prepare for these droughts before it happens?" I cannot forget the face, the statement, the way the woman made it. Another man in another workshop, he stood up and he said, we always talk about what is it we should do. Why is it we do not talk about what we should not do? And that was such a powerful statement. We had worked with them on what are the do's and what are the don'ts. And that was when he said, why don't we talk more about what we should not do so that we can have sustained resources? Thank you.
Fantastic. What we should not do in order to save the resources is such a powerful statement. Before wrapping the session up, just the last question to Archana ma'am. We have got a question as in how water governance can be leveraged as an incentivized tool from the government front. If you can shed a little light on this.
See, water is a state subject, and drinking water supply is generally more a water is a municipal or a panchayat level subject. So, for water governance, we have our National Water Policy of 2012, which says that, you know, water governance should be decentralized. Initially, in the policy, it was not so, but in the National Water Policy of 2012, it says that water governance should be decentralized but also integrated at the state level. So, what is happening is that one of the major challenges of water governance is that there are too many players who don't talk to each other. I mean, especially in a city state, you have the local bodies, you also have, the departments, then you have so many agencies who are all handling some aspect of water. So what we are trying to nudge the states is that at least at the state level, we should have an independent state water regulatory authority, which has water, um, which deals with the many conflicting issues which need to be resolved between departments or even with the public. So that is one of the policy frameworks in which the National Water Policy says that we need an independent regulatory authority. So while in states like Maharashtra, attempt has been made to establish the regulatory authority, water being a very very politically sensitive subject, it's not been implemented the way it should be. So we feel that if in water governance at the local level, we need participation of the communities right from the beginning of whatever projects are being implemented, and so that there is some buy-in by the community for the project, because as Marcella ma'am said that otherwise groundwater is considered a private resource. But when there is community buy-in, especially in terms of water users association, we've seen that even the tail end of projects get water. Otherwise, generally it is the head which gets most of consumes most of the water in command area projects. So for community ownership buy-in at the decentralized level, active involvement of NGOs, of water users association, women self-help groups, and water groups in capacity building is another aspect of governance, which requires you know a more intensive look. And at the state level, we need an independent agency for water. So these two are basic water governance frameworks which are there on paper, but it will take some time for it to get accepted, at all levels, water being so politically sensitive.
Ma'am,
Thank you.
there are a few more questions, but if you allow us, we could take those questions. Else, we'll be wrapping up our 53rd water talk. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
We can go for 2-3 more if the speaker comes and speaks instead of you taking the question.
Oh,
Arpita, you are muted.
I'm so sorry. The speaker is apparently not willing to come on screen and discuss the points. So I am the face of the speaker. So we can wrap up the session of because it itself has been an overall exploration from science to different practices to man's take on how government approaches this section to having a Jal Sevika with us, who's the real warrior, Nari Shakti se Jal Shakti. So I am extremely thankful to every speaker who have joined in. Special thanks to Arjuna ma'am for giving your precious time. We are wrapping up this session and hopefully stay tuned. We will come up with 54th Water Talk soon with yet another interesting topic. Thank you.
And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity. I would like to invite you, Madam Archana, to come and visit so that you can see and interact with the people.
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Arpita and your team for inviting us. Yeah. Okay. Chaya, namaskar, abhari.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.